Welcome to All Things Greater Burlington, where you will hear from the movers, shakers, and changemakers that are moving Greater Burlington forward. Here is your host, Stephen Brody.
Welcome to All Things Greater Burlington. It's a pleasure to have with us today Jon Billups, who wears many hats here in the Greater Burlington area. Mr. Billups is the current mayor of the great city of Burlington. He also serves as the harbor master at Bluff Harbor Marina and the development director at Burlington Notre Dame. So certainly a lot that takes up this gentleman's day, and very pleased to have him in here today. So Jon, thanks again for spending time with us.
You bet. Thanks for the invite.
I have to ask the obvious question. How does a normal day go for you when you are wearing potentially 3 hats? There can't be such a thing as a typical day for you.
Well, you know what? First and foremost, I'm blessed because my employers like Bluff Harbor, that's a kind of a part-time, full-time job. Notre Dame is a full-time job, but they both allow me the flexibility to do the mayor job. Or the city council job before I was mayor. So, you know, with the technology today, it really kind of works out in the end. I help with a couple other places, and then the one job I don't get nearly enough credit for is I'm the strong back, weak mind of my wife's trophy business, Smitty's Trophy Case. So I don't get to make any decisions there. So
how would you characterize the state of affairs in Burlington? You've been around here for many years, and now you're in an important position with the mayor. How would you characterize and grade Burlington as of today?
Well, and I would say this if I was the mayor or not, but I would say that Burlington is a city on the rise. We have always been blessed since I started paying attention to things when I turned 13 in 1976. We've always been blessed with great volunteers in our community, great volunteer leadership, great leadership from corporations. And so that's continued on. But I think what's really made the big difference over the last 10 years, specifically the last 5 or 6, is finally it feels like everybody is agreeing on what direction it was. Everybody always has the best intentions, but we don't have to agree on how to get there.
Yeah.
But we ought to agree where the destination is, and I think we're doing that now, which makes a big difference.
Yeah.
You know, but it's easy to be a little disgruntled about. You know, I learned a lesson a while back. Is the easiest way I can explain it. My friend Steve Delaney is a business editor here at the Hawkeye. He went away for 10 years and came back as a publisher.
Yeah.
And he and I were sitting around one day, and I was lamenting the fact of the lack of progress. And he clicked off about a 25-item list of things that had changed for the better since he had left the community and came back. And when you do have to kind of take the bird's eye view at Burlington from time to time, because everybody has a tendency to be somewhat negative from time to time.
Sure.
And, you know, I said this at the bridge lighting ceremony. I just wish the citizens of Burlington could see us through our visitors' eyes, because when they look at us, they look at our corporate presence of stores and restaurants and then our mom and pop restaurants, bars, and stores, the revitalization of downtown, and then also the revitalization of the city center, the old Fairway Mall, and the Kmart Plaza, which is now the Burlington Crossing. If you look at those 3 points, just as far as business and retail and shopping, wow. I mean, we've had a lot of private spending and a lot of public spending in those areas. And it's really showing. And the nice thing is once you see a little bit of movement in any one of those areas, it's amazing how it just continues to grow because somebody else wants to be a part of it.
It gets contagious, doesn't it?
It really does.
Well, and I think you're absolutely right, where oftentimes, no matter where you live, you need to listen to what the tourists say. Those who come here to shop, to dine, to play here. You will hear such rave reviews and such wonderful compliments about this community that you want that to be the overall. And I think you're right. I think it's getting there. I mean, there is so much that's going on. And of course, I don't have the history here like you do, but to hear the stories about where Burlington was several years ago and compare it to where it is today, it is night and day.
It is night and day. And I grew up, I graduated in 1980, and I'm telling you, the 80s in Burlington was rough. The old phrase is the last one to leave, please turn out the lights, was true.
Yeah.
Business was horrible, recession, crime. That was not guns so much, but stabbings and muggings and assault, and it has really turned the corner. And and the reason it turned the corner is folks didn't give up. It's Walter Payton ran 16,000 yards in his career. You think about that when he got knocked down every 3 yards.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's so what you have to do is you have to get up when you get knocked down, dust yourself off, and try again.
Sure.
And if the plan's not working, you try something else. And I was blessed with parents that encouraged me from an early age to go out and try. And if you failed, that's all right. You regroup and you try again.
Yeah.
And it's served me well over my years.
Yeah.
Because I've had to reinvent myself a few times, and that's okay.
What do you think it was, John? And I'm sure you know the answer to this. What was it that did kind of turn the page here in Burlington? Was it that certain people left and new people came in, or was it that you just had certain people that said, "Okay, enough is enough, and we need to do something"?
I think probably all three of those things. One thing. Or three or four of those things. One thing my dad used to joke around about, it's not a good joke, but there was nothing back in the 80s, he would say, there's nothing wrong with Burlington that a few well-placed funerals wouldn't take care of, which is a horrible thing to say, but I understood what he meant.
Sure.
I think it's a matter of we just kept working, and we had enough leadership, and then you also have to tag team. You have to change of leadership to continue that momentum. We had enough of that go on, and people kept working hard at it, that slowly, incrementally, we saw some progress. And then, it's just kind of started to snowball, and it's really gone well. I'm very proud to be in Burlington. In fact, when my wife and I went to school together, and we met each other 10 years after our graduation. We were both coming out of relationships. And when we were starting to get serious, I looked at her because she had lived everywhere. And I told Mitt, I said, Mitt, I'm never leaving Burlington. And that's probably going to be true.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably be here doing something until they put me in a box somewhere. Yeah. So, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Life's good.
I know in your role as mayor, a lot of what you want to do is to be cheerleader for the community and for outside to the state at the federal level. There's obviously times when you have to make hard decisions, or you have to get emotional about things. And obviously I don't want to spend a lot of time about it, but the whole issue with BNSF and the railroad crossing that we had, you were having to really put your foot down to try to get things done. Was that something that was out of your comfort zone to have to do, to kind of get to that point and say, hey, come on, people, you got to take action here?
I'd love to tell you that it was, Stephen. My father used to describe my management style when we had Billups, and especially when I was younger, as Godzilla through Tokyo. I don't mind wreaking some havoc when it's a subject that calls for it. And that did call for it. And we kept the pressure on, and then our great city manager, Chad Bird, he had sent, finally, we had discussed it, he had sent a certified letter to Warren Buffett. That's how that got fixed. Yeah. We went to the top, and then all of a sudden, everything else rolled downhill and things were fixed.
That's amazing.
So it really worked out well. But yeah, being the mayor is a tough job. Now, I benefit from following Shane McCampbell. We have had great mayors in our city history. Yeah. But the nice thing about following my friend Shane is he elevated the visibility of the position, where even though we're all one of five, you just have a little more visibility. So you, from time to time, have a little bit more clout to cash in. And following him made that easier for me because I'm not the people person that he was. But I like to, I always have this mantra. I just want to get it done. When we see something's right, let's get it done. And as long as you realize that what's good for Burlington is generally good for West Burlington and our surrounding smaller cities and the county, and vice versa. And you can't get caught up on what's good for Burlington. Look, if tomorrow, if a manufacturer came in and said, hey, I'm going to locate in West Burlington, bring 300 jobs, I'll be the first one there clapping.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they would be the same way with us. So because it's stronger for the region is that's the key.
And I know that there were issues in the past, but I'm not sensing that much anymore. And in talking with, and I've interviewed both city managers, and there seems to be a really good relationship that's going on in discussion and wanting to partner on things because this is Greater Burlington.
Yeah, I think we have the two good city managers right now that realize that from time to time, not every time, but from time to time, teaming up or looking at where we can share expenses or share projects makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think those are the discussions that we have to have going forward. We're Burlington's 29.8 and West Burlington's 3,500 something. We're not really big enough to be two separate cities and not care about each other or work together. And so I think we're doing much better. I think our citizens are much better about it. And I think our leadership is much better about it. So trying to work together.
Do you think there's anything that's still not being communicated well enough about what a great area this is?
That's a tough one. I don't think we talk about ourselves nearly enough. We have a tendency to look at our warts first and go from there. I've said that several times. It's human nature, right? Most people look in the mirror and they say, well, I wish my ears were a different shape. Or in my case, I wish I still had a full head of hair. I wish I had my afro from the 80s. But, when you really look at the core of what we have going on and the amenities that we have and look around at what other cities are struggling with, we're blessed. And, we're first and foremost, we're blessed with great people here living here. And when, I talk a lot about leaders, but a leader is a person that walks through their neighborhood and picks up trash, right? Mm-hmm. A leader can be anything in our area, and it's just trying to make our area better. And on the whole, Burlington's a city full of leaders.
Yes. Yeah. I'll tell you, I really benefited and appreciated participating in the City Academy that is put on. It is a great program. And if nobody knows about it, it's an 8-week program towards the beginning of the year. And you get to visit all of the city departments, basically. Right. And they offer their time. They take you on a tour. They give you a glimpse of the operations and everything. And it really gives you a good appreciation of what goes on. I think that's a wonderful program. I don't know how many other cities in the area do such a thing, but that's a wonderful thing that is made available to any citizen that wants to do it, and it's free.
And the City Academy, the Police Academy, the Fire Academy, those are great programs. And there's a reason for doing that. One, we want our city staff to see normal citizens look at what they do, and then also feel they get the feedback about the value that they provide. And I learned long ago that it's a lot harder to yell at somebody about a problem than a faceless person or a person that has a title and you don't know who they are. So typically, everything gets worked out with conversation and compromise, right?
Yeah.
But you got to get to the point where you can have that conversation. So the more we can introduce our citizens to the city staff and vice versa, the better. And so that's why we've pursued that.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. Let's talk a few moments about your role as harbor master and the marina. How much anxiety, I guess, do you get when
the water's dropping it's horrible.
Yeah, exactly. When there's flooding issues, and then when it gets too low, how does that affect you in your role?
Well, it's not stress-free, let's put it that way, because what the marina does is basically it's there for recreational boating, whether it's fishing or just enjoying the river. And first and foremost, we take the river for granted. it's there. It's always been there, and we just assume it's always going to be there.
See, and I grew up on the West Coast, always hearing the lore and the history of the Mississippi River, right? And so to actually come out here and to see it every day,
Right.
I think you're right. So many people take it for granted, whereas so many others have never experienced it. And then when they do, there's just this wow factor.
Yeah. Well, when we had Billups, I worked 40 years. A block away, I could see the river. And I was a river guy. And I remember one of our vessels, one of the steamboats came in, and I'm walking back and forth across the street with my head down, muttering about something. She goes, "Lady, I don't even know," turns and looks at me. She goes, "I bet you take that for granted, don't you?" And I said, "What?" I looked at her and she goes, "Well, that." And she pointed both hands to the river. And
Yeah.
I said, "Ma'am, you're right. I do." And I've tried to change since then, but
Yeah.
it does cause some angst. I've been vocal about, man, I wish we could do some dredging in this area, not just for the main channel, but the side sloughs. And we've pinched the river. The humans have pinched the river by building levees. And so it doesn't have the same current and flow that it did before. Low water causes a lot of anxiety because I don't want people to, get their boats damaged, and then also can they even go out?
Yeah.
So it can be tough, but it's really rewarding. I mean, I work a lot on the weekends down there, and it's fun to see people out having fun and passing on whether it's fishing or recreational boating to their families. You see a mom and dad, and the kid gets older, and all of a sudden the kid has a boat, and they're out with him, and it's passing on traditions. You know, but the nice thing about a river versus a lake is the river's never boring; it always changes.
It's always there.
Yeah, it always changes.
Now, for those who don't know everything about the marina and the operations, and I'll admit I'm one of them. So folks have their own boats, but what other services are provided there?
Well, we do sales and service there. We sell new boats and used boats, and we also repair boats. We have 148 slips, which is an in-water slip.
Yeah.
Back when I was a kid, and I had a boat there actually I had a boat before I had a car. We had a boat there, and back then we used to put them via trolley. You'd have your boat on a steel wheel cart, and you'd roll it down this trolley line.
Really?
But the office was much further north. Now our neighbors, Shokokan Boat Club, that's still how they do it. So it's fascinating just to watch that, because it's about a 20-foot traverse that these boats go down, and we have people stop and watch that all the time.
Yeah.
So, but then we also do some boat storage down there as well.
Yeah.
So,
What happens to the boats? What do people do mostly off season? Do they leave them there? Do they take them somewhere for some sort of storage?
we do have some storage, but most take them for storage. We have 3 boats that stay in the water. Then what they have to do is they put what we call a bubbler in there to keep the ice from forming on the hull, because you want to have a little gap there if ice breaks up. Mother Nature, it doesn't bend, right? Ice will really mess up a boat quick. So what we try to do is you try to have open water around those facilities or around those boats.
Right.
So
Do you have, I would imagine you have some sort of a pager or something that, like, if there's an emergency of some sort?
just a cell phone. I think
Okay.
everybody in town has my number.
Yeah.
I know all the marina patrons do, and I, to my wife's chagrin, I've put it on my Facebook page and on my business card. I remember when I got elected, I had one of the outgoing city council people say, "Whatever you do, don't put your personal number out there." Well, that's the first thing I did.
You didn't listen.
Well, I ran on the premise that I wanted to see communication improve between the citizens and the city, and I've always kept that. My folks were that way. If you knew my old man, you could call him at any point in time and talk about business, or just say hello. He was one of those guys, and so I've tried to keep it that way. But now with technology, with the cell phones, boom, you can set it on if it's an emergency call, it goes on like when I know we're working on something, it'll flash and beep, and it goes up, lights up the bedroom at night when I'm sleeping there, and there's a late night activity I need to pay attention to. So,
Do you have things set up where it's a different kind of a ringer, whether it's
Right.
Marina versus City versus
Right.
Notre Dame?
Right. Yeah. All three. I'm a walking jingle box. But it's fun. It works out.
Now, how long have you been the development director at Notre Dame?
I took that role in 2019, so 4 years now.
Okay.
And as development director, I'm in charge of the foundation, which is our fundraising arm for the school. We do, of course, our two big events was Pot of Blue and Gold, the $100,000 raffle, and God's Portion Day, which is a benefit auction. But we also work on several other smaller fundraisers, like when a team or a class needs to raise funds. And one of the things we've been working on lately is improving our memorial page and presence. So it really, there's not a boring day in my life typically. So it's
I wouldn't think so. Yeah. What's the status now at Notre Dame in terms of capacity?
We would be that question's been brought up a lot because of now the new ESA voucher program.
Yeah.
Without expanding facilities, we could probably take on another 20 kids comfortably. But we are committed to a certain class size.
Yeah.
And the biggest and toughest thing, like everybody, is workforce, right?
Sure.
We have to find teachers, and we not only have to find teachers, but find good ones. We're expected to. And so that is a self-limiter as far as how many kids you can have. So.
Yeah.
But right now we're right about 420 students.
That many?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the condition of the school, is there talk about doing any sort of repairs or additions like you mentioned, or does it seem like it's in good?
The school's in really good shape. We have a great maintenance staff, and they've done a good job taking care of the building. Now, to be honest, we'd love to put our last big expansion was the elementary building and the elementary gym. We'd love to put an auditorium in for our arts programs, which are really strong at Notre Dame. And there is, for those of you out there, if you have a bequest or you have some spare cash, you can donate to that particular fund, because eventually we'd like to build an auditorium there.
Where do you go now for productions?
We have it's in the elementary gym.
Okay.
It's just a gymnasium versus an auditorium. It's a little harder for the sound. We have dusted off our youth tech team. We've finally realized that maybe these kids know more about technology than we do.
Yeah.
And so they've started that group back up, which will help with stage production and music production, that kind of thing.
Yeah. When you took on your role as mayor, obviously that got you into the political realm of things. And without being ideological, is there things that you learned or did you have to pick up right away that maybe you didn't before in terms of how things operated? And you say that you're a person that likes to get things done. Well, in government, that doesn't always work. It doesn't work that way.
A couple things I learned. I will say that I have been as guilty as anyone about griping about city government from time to time before I took on the role, and still do from time to time. I learned a lot about what city council can and can't do. I've also learned a lot about the speed of government, which city government's relatively nimble when comparing to the state or feds.
Right.
But it's slower than you expect, and it's slow for a reason, right? So we're going to make a change in a policy. We donate 3 work sessions to it, and then also 3 meetings to it, because you got to vote on it 3 times. But when I first got on, we were going to revise our trash can program. We were the only ones that didn't have some kind of trash cart program in this area. And that took us almost 8 months, because we wanted to make sure that whatever we reached was the best compromise for all citizens. And so sometimes, you'll see us talk about something and we'll go back and come back to it, or we'll table it and come back to it. Well, we're still working on it. Yeah. It's just we're looking for more feedback or more information.
And how much do you involve yourself in it versus allowing the staff and the administration?
There have been times when I've probably been too involved on a few issues, and I've had to learn how to back off. By the same token, I will say that to a person, our city staff right now is probably one of the best that I've seen. They're responsive. They're level best to educate you. They do right with our Tiger Grant program, thanks to the Greater Burlington Partnership, which is another organization I've been involved with. We've never had meetings before where a construction meeting for citizens and business owners. A construction meeting was always for the contractors.
Yeah.
Well, we've done that now with Tiger Grant for 2 years, and we've learned a lot of things about the benefit and value of educating people what's going on.
Yeah.
More often than not, I'm pretty active on social media. And when I see someone's criticizing something about Burlington and I know it's based off, they don't have all the information. I never try to embarrass anybody. I'll back channel them and say, hey, you can still disagree, but here's the thought process and here is the reasons why we've done this. And more often than not, when people have that information, they might not still be in love with it.
Yeah.
But at least they understand it. And that was one of the reasons why I ran. I thought we could do a better job of that.
And that's a good question, because what was it? What did you do first? So it was, what was it? Was it the Marina, then Mayor, then Notre Dame?
Actually, I was when we closed Billups, I went to work for the Hawkeye newspaper, and it came up because Delaney, Steve Delaney, my friend, said, he goes, someday I think you're going to run for office, and you can't here because it wouldn't be fair to have the reporters cover you.
Yeah.
So when I lost that gig during the corporate buyout from Gatehouse, I went to work for Pritchard Broadcasting.
Okay.
And John Pritchard is actually the mayor of Galesburg. And so when that came up again, he said, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. And the way I got into it is I was discussing an issue with somebody, and a friend of ours overheard us. And Dan Cahill, thank you, Dan, got me into this mess. He went out and took out papers in my name and got them all 40 signatures and handed them to me. He goes, I think you'd be a good city council person. You should run.
Yeah, here, you're set.
And so I thought about it, and I talked to my family about it, and then I decided to run. Yeah. So I was at Pritchard's, and then during that time I started at the Marina, got on city council. When Shane opted off council, I was appointed mayor by the city council, and then I went to Notre Dame as well.
Yeah. I was going to say, it almost sounded like a perfect storm all happening at once, but there was a little bit of a gap there.
Yeah, there's a gap there. I mean, it didn't all happen simultaneously. And, like I said earlier, I'm blessed with understanding coworkers and employers that because the city gig, I mean, if you start keeping track of how much time, if you're going to do it and do it right, our packets are anywhere that we get on a Friday night, so you got to have them ready by Monday. So that means studying those.
Yeah.
They're 100 to 300 pages sometimes. 286 was the longest one I saw.
It's incredible.
You got to read the info.
Yeah.
So you can't do that without having some allowance for it. Yeah. And then also to be able to just go to the different events that people want you to show up. Or, just here recently we had the huge announcement at the plant. I had to have the freedom to go out there and meet with them and talk to them about their expansion plans. And so it's really been, hats off to Notre Dame, and hats off to the Tim Roberts at Bluff Harbor Marina for allowing me to do that.
Yeah,
and my wife too for letting me get out.
Well, I would think so. I would hope so. So, John, when you have free time, what do you like to do?
Oh, I of course I like to boat. That's one of the reasons why I started working in the marina. I was worried they didn't have a manager at the time. I thought, well, I could probably do that part-time and do all right. So I like to boat. I really love to spend time with family and friends. Just relax, know. And when you work hard, and then all of a sudden you relax, man, it just seems so much more valuable. It's like, I always tell this. And people will be, don't judge me, but so my family, brother-in-laws or my bros, I call them, they own the Paddle Wheel Lounge. And I rarely go in there with a lot of coin in my pocket because my wife has my money. And someone asked me, why don't you ever buy your own beers? Why does your wife buy them? I said, well, you ever notice how when someone buys you something, it tastes colder and better? That is true. And it's the same thing with work and relaxation. If you work really hard, I was raised with the mantra, work hard, play hard. If you work really hard, and then when you are playing, or relaxing. It just seems more, I think.
Yeah.
But that's also the way I'm wired. I like to be busy. I think I'm one of those individuals. If you said, "Hey, John, tomorrow you got to quit everything you're doing, you're going to retire," you could start the clock, and it wouldn't be a long clock before I would be not around. It's just the way I'm wired.
Yeah.
So.
Well, John, we really appreciate your commitment to the Burlington area and the different hats that you wear, the dedication that you put into it, and the passion that you provide. And so we are thankful for the partnership that we have here with you, and just are thankful for your role in all of these and what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that. Burlington's been really, really good to my family, and all I'm trying to do is pay it back. So thanks.
Well, thank you, sir, for being with us. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our program, and give us a call at the Greater Burlington Partnership and let us know who you would like to have us interview next. Until next time, we'll see you on All Things Greater Burlington.
You have been listening to All Things Greater Burlington with Stephen Brody. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to catch all new episodes. To learn more about All Things Greater Burlington, visit greaterburlington.com/ATGB.